Well, the 1st Hussars was first constituted as a troop of cavalry in 1856 and served in the Canadian Army as cavalry until as late as 1939, serving through the First World War as a cavalry unit. It was mobilized early in the Second World War in the Royal Canadian Armored Corps as an armored regiment. During the Second World War, the regiment's battle experience was done in Northern Europe. They landed on D-Day with the Allied forces and fought through Northern Europe, winning several battle honors through until VE Day, and they wound up in Germany. Following the Second World War, it was reconstituted as a militia unit and has trained in its armories once a week since then. Training at the armories, we cover recruit training. We bring a young man in off the street, you kit him out, and we give him such subjects as drill, small arms, first aid, field craft, and bring him to what we call a recruit standard. He then progresses into national survival training. You've seen some of that, binding a man into a stretcher, first aid again, methods of rescue, searching, and so on. We can cover this pretty well here. And he becomes a trained militiaman. Trained militiaman standard, we are able to give them some trades training, and in this regiment we have decided to give them both militia driverman's training and militia wirelessman training. Beyond this, we can portion a certain amount of our time to Armored Corps training. And to achieve this end, we will conduct refresher courses for officers, senior and junior NCOs in tactics, wireless, gunnery, and driving and maintenance as far as the tank is concerned. In addition to our local headquarters training, we do have outside training at summer camp. We are allowed 1 week at summer camp each year, in which camp we carry on much the same type of training, only of a more practical nature. In addition to this, of later years we've been traveling to Meaford, which is the AFV ranges, usually in the wintertime. And we do some tank driving there, but mainly we're up there to fire the master weapon on the ranges. By AFV ranges, I mean the armored fighting vehicle ranges at Meaford. And at that concentration, we fire the master weapon, that is the large weapon on the tank, which for our purposes is the Sherman, a World War II tank. We don't always train at Meaford during the winter, but of late years we have been assigned a weekend there during the winter, and this has given us some opportunity to train under winter conditions. Infantry armored cooperation is something that we have difficulty in training. Normally we can usually find areas to work the tanks, but we don't always find the infantry. In actual warfare, of course, infantry and armor work very closely together. They must support one another. Unfortunately, this is not always the case in peacetime training. Therefore, at some summer camps, if we have infantry battalions with us, we are able to accommodate one another in training. Now, for our own purposes, at times we can collect some of our own people together, equip them with rifles, and mount them on the rear of tanks, and simulate infantry tank training. In conventional ground warfare, infantry must be the ones that actually take and hold an objective. The Armored Corps' role in support would be, in some instances, to carry troops to a certain point within fighting distance of the objective, to dismount them, and with their heavy weapons, support them onto the objective. The infantry can be quite easily protected by tanks on the rear deck. We can drop them in a spot convenient to the infantry. We can fire them right onto the targets with both our master weapons and with our coaxial weapons, our machine guns. They in turn protect us from anti-tank weapons. Well, the role of this militia unit within the Canadian Army primarily is one of national survival. We, in particular, as an armored regiment, are able to supply the reconnaissance elements in the national survival role. This doesn't discount the fact that we have trained people in rescue, first aid, and what have you. Our secondary role is still our role as an armored regiment. Once the survival is over, the initial rush of warfare is over, then we will take our conventional armored corps role and fight as an armored unit. It's our belief that the young man that comes into us off the street is doing something more than the average citizen will do. He's giving of his time. The pay, although it is based on regular Army rates, is limited in the militia. There is an austerity program within the militia. We can give a man something like 40 days a year. The young man might put in 60 days a year. He doesn't squawk about not being paid for that extra 20 days. Certainly our officers and NCOs do work much beyond the limitation of the pay, and we don't hear too many gripes about it. We're very fortunate in this regiment in having young men come in who want to work. We've had a succession of commanding officers who insist that his officers and men do work for the militia.